the first thing I want to work on this foot here is rocking that heel forward, really making those toes stretch into extension. And I'm going to repeat that 4 or 5 times, just rocking in and out, trying to get at least a minute's worth of time under tension to get some change in that tissue. And then once I've given those toes a good extend, I'm going to flip over and I'm going to have a real good stretch into the front of the ankle. Hands down just to give a little bit of balance support if required. And it's being brave with the amount of weight you're putting on. Good rule of thumb around these things is you've got to heel it to feel it. So we want a little bit of discomfort, but not enough to make us really yelp out in pain or and change our facial expression. Okay, so switching on to the other foot now. First thing we're going through is that toe extension. So pushing all the toes down, making sure the bend point is through the joints. I don't want to vault up onto the tips of the toes. I want to feel the toes joints go through extension. And I'm going to reach right forward 3 or 4 times, nice and slowly, really getting those joints moving. So toe extension needs to be full and it needs to be robust. And so does toe flexion. So as we turn the foot over, resting on the hands and the foot that's on the floor, and then the stretch leg, we're really just pressing our weight down into the top part of the toes and the foot. The knee is pretty much fully bent as we do this. And if you can fully commit to sit your backside onto your heel, you can give even more load and weight to this stretch. So we're going to have a good stretch out both ways, through toe extension like so, and through toe flexion like that. So just switch back, have a little go on the foot that you started on, and just give that another rub through toe extension and toe flexion. And when you've got these things down pat, we probably only need maybe 20 seconds on one foot, 20 seconds on the other foot. In our moderate version, we're going to do it like this. So the other foot's still on the floor, but I'm using one leg to make the squat, and I'm using my other leg just for balance. So think whichever leg you're standing on, that's going to take 90% of the weight, and we're going to try and keep that exact same pattern of just bending the knee forward, keeping the back upright and relaxed, feeling for the end of the movement being when the ankle runs out of knee over toe range of motion. So I'm going to go up and down through that squat. Let's do 6. So that was 1. Here's number 2, and think roughly sort of 3 seconds up, 3 seconds down. Knee goes fully straight between each repetition. 4, 5, and 6. So as the load increases on the leg, this slowly moves from being pretty much straight mobility work to something involving a bit more strength. So switch on to the other leg. Just the big toe down is like a kickstand for balance. My weight's on this side, and then I'm going to drop straight down. My eyes stay out the front, my back stays relaxed, neutral and upright, and my leg does the work. Right down to the bottom of the squat and back up again. So 5 more repetitions there. 3 seconds to get down, 3 seconds to come up. Feel the knee go right back into extension at the top. Feel the ankle run out of knee over toe movement at the bottom. 2 more repetitions on that leg. And if you're okay with that movement, we're going to go back to the first leg, and if it feels okay, you're going to do it in single leg stance. So we're going to get the other leg off the ground entirely, and we're going to do that same squat pattern, but as a single leg stance. So now we're involving balance as well as strength. So let's go for 4 slow repetitions, as low as you can go, keeping the body upright, even on one leg. I want all that same patterning happening. as I go down and up through that squat movement. One more time. And back to the top. Change legs. So if you're okay with it in single leg stance, if you need a toe down to keep your balance, that's absolutely fine. Another 5 or 6 slow, smooth, upright squats. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and let's go one more for 5. So T-stance position, knee is straight. We're still going to push the leg around through the circle, but this time we're going to really think about keeping the body straight forward as we make the motion. So if my belly button had a laser beam, I'd be shining it right at you, and I'm going to try and keep it shining on that same course as the knee goes round its rotation. So the foot still staying grounded to the floor, but I'm also thinking about keeping the trunk still, and therefore I'm having to get my hip joint to do much more rotating than if I allow my body to be dragged around in the movement. So keep the movement in the leg, minimize how much your spine has to do to allow you to make that circle. So whichever way you're going, pause and go back in the other direction for another few circles, maximizing the size of the circle and minimizing the amount of drift that's happening through the trunk and the abdomen as we make that movement. Wonderful. 2 more circles for me there. And hands on hips is a good way to give a bit of feedback as to whether you're managing to keep those hips still as we make the movement. So hands are on hips, hip stays shining straight forward, the foot is facing forward, back leg's turned out, and from there the knee goes in a circle but the body doesn't come with it. Get that glute muscle on the outside of the hip feeling like it's doing work as we go around the circle. And then just talking to those people who are struggling to get their foot to stay down, it's sometimes because you haven't got enough weight on that front foot. So if your toes keep flipping and flopping, think about actually putting a bit more weight into the front foot so that we ground that foot down into the ground, and it needs some weight on it to actually feel sticky to the floor. But everybody should be feeling their arch go really low when they're on the inside and their arch go really high when they're on the outside. Though the whole leg's moving, the most important bit that does move is the midfoot down here during this movement. So pause where you are and go back the other way. Let's go for 5 circles in the opposite direction. Keep those hips shining straight forward, foot down on the ground, back nice and relaxed, leg feeling comfortable through the movement. 2 more circles, and then we're done with those. So our basic version was just to hold the leg out and twist around like this and turn to the inside like that. And that's a great exercise. If we want to progress it, we're going to reach the foot further out and further forward, so that involves a little bit of a bend in the other knee, so that sets the hip in a position where it can actually do a bit more rotating. And again, I'm going to care more about my upper body position, so my spine's to you and it's going to stay there. I'm not going to allow myself to get dragged around the corner as I reach round trying to find the ground with my little toe to mark the end of outward rotation of this hip. And then I'm going to come round and I'm going to go round into the internal rotation this way. And if my leg was further in, it'd be on the ground by now, but because I've stepped it out, it gives me this bigger range to turn the hip through, but I've got to keep the back nice and relaxed. So just a few of these. Let's go 3 times either way. So it's my second time going out. Hold for a couple of seconds. Keep the knee nice and straight. Keep the spine nice and still. Come to the inside again. And then we're going to do that one final time, reaching the leg as far to the outside as we can, and then as far to the inside as we can. And hip rotations are a really important movement, but everybody's really different. So if your hips don't rotate very far, this is a very safe position to work on it, because you're only using your own muscles to create the movement, and it's much harder to hurt yourself like that than it is if you're hanging gravity and body weight into stretch positions. So a very, very effective and safe exercise to open up hip rotation. So I'm going out into this slightly squat position where this foot's reached out and forward, this knee's bent, legs hung straight, and from there I'm going to go for 3 full rotations outwards and 3 full rotations inwards. Trying hard to keep the body still and relax enough around the backside and the hip that I can let that movement happen through there. So we're really just about trying to maximize the range of motion in every component part of the body, because as we do that, we help the body to gain more efficiency in movement, and that really is what governs our performance, our fitness, and how good we feel. I've lost count, let's do 2 more. To the outside, inside, 1 more to the outside, and then 1 more to the inside. We're going to kind of simplify by going round in a circle. So from this position here, I'm going to side bend and then twist. So I end up looking down at my foot on this side. And the whole time, I'm concentrating hard on keeping my backside relatively still. So I get into this corner here, and then I'm going to sweep round. Actively trying to flex the spine. Think about putting fat folds into your tummy as you come round to then look at the other foot. From there, I'm going to de-rotate and come back to upright again. So what I've essentially done is drawn a D shape in the air with my head. So we can think about this as a D-shaped spin of the spine through all the movements apart from arching back into extension. So we're going to do that 3 times, going one way. So side bend, rotate, flex through the front, de-rotate, de-side bend, and then I'm going to go back and make that exact same movement going the other way around the circle. And a lot of people will find it just feels more comfortable and natural to go one way around the circle. And in the basic principle of practice what you suck at, I'm going to suggest the best way for you to do the circle is the way that feels less easy. And spend a bit of time looking for those scratchy little corners where you do feel a bit more pain and tension than you do on the other side, or you think you ought to. This should feel nice and comfortable and easy to roll the spine around that D shape. And as we get better at it, we can add a little bit of velocity to the movement, but we still want to maintain enough control that we're keeping the backside nice and still as we do that. 2 more times in the direction that you're going, and then we'll do 2 the other way. So if we go really slow, we can scratch out range of motion. If we add a little bit of speed, we are checking that we've really got confidence and usability within that range of motion. In a similar way, we did scapulas going up and down, scapula shoulder blade going up and down and forward and backwards. Well, that gives us north, south, east and west on a compass, and we can join those points together to create a scapular circle. And as I do this, I think about my body staying still, my elbow staying straight, and my hand doesn't need to go up and down very much. It needs to go forward and backwards a little bit, but almost like a bike chain where this is the big end and this is the small end of the chain. I want to maximize the movement at the shoulder blade going round in a circle, minimize the motion at the elbow and at the hand, and minimize the motion in the spine. So how free can you get your shoulder blade to circle? Pause where you are, reverse the direction, and give me 3 more circles going in the opposite direction. Each time thinking elbow shouldn't bend, spine shouldn't move, your head shouldn't move very much. And a lot of people will have some clicky bits and some grindy bits as we do this. So long as it's not too painful, just carry on through. Right, let's switch round, go on the other side. So this is the point that makes the circle. It goes up, down, forward and back. If we join those points together, we get this scapular circle. Take note that my elbow doesn't move very much and my body doesn't get dragged into the rotation. these early stages, what we want to think about is that we've got an adequate control over our body to get the movement where we want it, but we don't end up leaking movement into areas that we don't want it. So just demonstrates full control of your meat machine. Right, stop where you are and turn that circle backwards. So big circle at the shoulder blade, stillness at the elbow, small oblong at the hand where it's going more forward and backwards than it is up and down. And scapular circles just for a minute or so can be enough to bring on some real fatigue, and the ease at which you put the movement together can teach you a lot about which arm has better coordination. So we definitely want to practice more on the side where the circle feels clunkier or smaller or more difficult to get to. As our shoulders get calmed down and we're not in pain through basic range of motion, what we actually want to do is be able to make these circular rotations with a little bit of momentum, where the body's staying nice and still, the elbow's not moving, my head's in the middle, and my arm swings at a reasonable speed. So give your arm a good swing around, backward circle first of all. Keep that going for a few more seconds, for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and relax. So let's compare that straight away with the other side. So the exact same movement. Does it come as easy? Does it create more motion in the body? Does it create more discomfort round the shoulder? Has it got the same looseness that you do on the other side? So enough speed to kind of feel like you really sweep round the edge of the circle, but not so much that the whole body joins in with the motion. Okay, pause there, and that was moving backwards. So now we're going to move forwards, back to the other side. Forward circle with a bit of momentum, and just see how quick you can get that movement going before the rest of your body really starts to break down. And keep that spin going for another 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Relax. Last one to do, forward circle on the other arm. So we're going forwards this time. Keep the body nice and still. Shoulder blade should be moving on the rib cage is grounded to the ground, and the arm spins off there. So it shouldn't move your middle and your head around. It should just happen in your arm. Maximum velocity under control. Keep it going there for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So now we're going back into our downward dog position. So we can make progressions on this just by where we are on the floor. Basically, the narrower the position we are in, and the more we work the bum up and the head down, up to a point where we'll get harder and harder. Now, you can get too narrow, where now I'm not really able to have my bum as the highest point in the movement. So I want to make sure I'm in a position where I can get right down into this position here, and we're going to work heel down into the floor like so. Now what we can do is, as one heel goes down, the other knee pops forward, but now we're going to pull that knee up to the chest and take it off the floor as the other one reaches down, switch around, and so we pull up as we push down, trying to maintain our triangular shape at the ground as best we can, and squeeze, calf stretching on one side, hip flexor pulling on the other side, hold for a couple of seconds, leg down, and switch to the other side. And let's just keep that going. Bum high, head low, heel reaching down, knee reaching up, switching from one side to the other every 3 seconds or so. 5 more repetitions. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So hands down and getting into this position here where all of the legs are down on the floor. The arms are positioned in a way where I can push out to full elbow extension and I don't end up with a little short neck and shrugged up shoulders. I want to have my shoulders pushing the ground away and a nice long free neck in position. So I'm going to get up into this position, and to add a little extra to it, I'm now going to bend one knee. And as I bend the knee, I've got to squeeze through my hamstrings and my butt muscles to get that knee bend up, but I've got to be careful not to move away from the ground on the front of the hip. So the challenge is to bend the knee as far as you can before the front of the hip reacts at all. So bend up, hold for 5 seconds, slowly put that leg down, and then change to the other side. Now, some people's knees will go a long way, some people's won't go very far. What's important is that both legs move roughly the same like this. So if it's really hard, I want you to lower yourself down and move your knees apart a little bit, and that will make it easier to get the knee bend movement going. If it's really easy, we're going to bring the hands in a little closer underneath the shoulders so the spine stretches deeper into extension, and I'm also going to make sure I keep my knees right together at the back, and by having my knees fully together at the back, I will add more stretch to the front of the body as I come up into this position. So now I can come up and then in this harder position, pedal in and out 5 or 6 times on either leg to really open up the small of the back and the front of the hips. Keep that going for another 5 repetitions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wonderful. And after you've stretched your back that way, we just want to come up and have a little sit right back into this position and just open all those things we've been squeezing down out again. So the first progression that we want to make is to be able to lift an arm and leg opposite pair. So if you're lifting your left arm, you're lifting your right foot with it, and if you're lifting your right arm, you're going to lift your left foot with it. So up into position, toes under, pop, foot off the floor, hand off the floor, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, return your hand and foot to the floor, push the ground away, keep the back flat, keep the knee low and lift the other pair off and hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then back onto the ground again. Anytime you need a rest, just stick your knees down to have a rest, but otherwise you can flip from lifting one opposite pair to lifting the other opposite pair without taking a rest from that base position of low bear. So if we're doing it like that, it would look like this. I come up and we're going to go left hand, right foot, and hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, and down, and then switch. And as I switch, I think hard about just the limbs I'm lifting, moving. Try and keep your knee low at the back and your arm long at the front. Down and switch. And arm is long, knee is low, and hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, and switch, and hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, and switch. One more set. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, and switch, 2, 3, 4, 5, and rest. Well done. What's important as we go into the strength work is you're watching out for any hot spots. We can't really get strong through pain, so we can only work as hard as our pain system lets us. So stop short of properly painful on any of these strength exercises. Okay, so the last one we're going to do is that shoulder tap exercise. We worked off our knees with a nice simple isometric position in the early phases, and now we want to try and bring that movement up onto the toes rather than the knees. Easy would be to put the bum a bit high. Harder is to bring the bum dead in line so the hips are straight in a push-up position, and then from there, feet pretty much together. Weight transfer a little bit, hand up, tap the front of the shoulder, hold 2, 3, 4, and down. Change to the other side, press the ground away, and hold 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to do 5 on each arm. So this will be the second one. 2, 3, 4, 5. Switch over. 2, 3, 4, 5. Think about keeping your face as far away from the ground as you can. 2, 3, 4, 5. And to do that, we've got to push the shoulder blades around the edge of the body. Don't let yourself go weak in the shoulder blade muscles. That's what's going to keep working for us to do this movement well. And let's go for a long hold on the one hand. So pick a hand and we're going to go for 15. So 1, 5, 10, and 15. Switch, and onto the other side. Last hold, make it a good one. 5, 10, and 15. Down and rest. All right.